Good morning. My name is Councillor Gord Perks. I am the chair of the Toronto East York Community Council and will be chairing today's meeting. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I'd like to now call meeting 33 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held with members of council and city staff participating both by video conference and in person at City Hall in the council chamber. Toronto City Hall is once again open to the public, and anyone is welcome to attend the meeting in the council chamber today. The public may continue to participate electronically by video conference. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com, Toronto City Council Live. The clerk's staff have connected remote public speakers to the meeting by video conference, and there are public speakers in the room with us today. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Toronto East York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. I ask everyone for their patience with any delays and technical issues. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on the toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the clerk's meetings portal. Clerk's IT staff will also be available to members in the chamber and remotely if you need any help with your devices. As part of each agenda item, I will ask members to raise their hand or unmute their microphones if they wish to question staff or speak. I will then create a speakers list and will call on members when it is their turn to speak. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure that they turn on their video if applicable and to raise their hand to indicate their vote. Members, this is a paperless meeting, and I want to remind you that you must submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at teycc@toronto.ca to help with motions. And as an additional note, members, please be aware that because Councillor Cressy and Councillor Wong Tam have both resigned from council and Councillor Fletcher is unavailable today, we are at bare quorum. So if you need to leave the meeting for any reason, please give me a little bit of advance warning so that we can recess the meeting and continue on when you're back. Although we are in different locations and meeting remotely today, the Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Okay, are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, I need a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting, April 21st. Councillor Bradford, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Members, will start the agenda run through today at item 33.25. Okay, so that's 306 to 310 Gerrard Street East, official plan and zoning amendment application, preliminary report. That's Councillor Wong Tam. Is anyone carrying Councillor Wong Tam's items? No, I'll do that then. I'll move the staff recommendation, or sorry, I'll move the recommendations in the letter. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item 33.26, 215 Wellesley Street, East zoning amendment application, preliminary report. I'll move the recommendations in the report. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.28, 1095 through 1111 Danforth. 28, did I say, what did I say? 27. Oh, 27 has depth? Oh yeah, okay. So we'll hold item 27 for deputations. And go to 28. which is 1095 1111 Danforth Avenue zoning amendment preliminary report. I'll move the recommendations.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yes.
I believe this is an item from Councillor Fletcher, and there's a motion.
Oh, okay.
I think. Does the clerk have the motion already? Yep.
Okay. Okay. So we'll take the motion and the item together. Thank you, Councillor Bailao. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item 33.29, 324 Cherry Street and 429 Lakeshore Boulevard East Public Art Strategy. That's Councillor Cressy's. Councillor Layton, do you have carriage of that?
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.30, Metrolinx Go expansion, time extension of Wallace Avenue right-of-way occupancy. Councillor Bailao.
Move staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.32, corridor safety review, O'Connor Drive, traffic signal. 31, what is going on with me today? Okay. Item TE 33.31, Brunswick DuPont Neighborhood Mobility. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.32, corridor safety review, O'Connor Drive traffic control signal update. Councillor Bailao.
Move defer indefinitely.
Okay. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.33, corridor safety review, Queen Street East. Councillor Bradford.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd like to forward this to council without recommendations, please.
Okay. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Sorry, one moment. Okay, item TE 33.34, car share vehicle parking areas, various locations. Councillors Layton, Matlow, and Fletcher. Who wants to move it? Councillor Layton. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.35, road safety review, Knox Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Defer to June.
Okay, we'll defer that to the June meeting. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.36, review of Toronto Parking Authority Policy Resolution 3-6, residential overnight parking. Anyone want to move that?
Defer to June.
Oh.
Councillor Fletcher had asked to have that deferred to June.
Well, okay, it's just a receipt for information, so sure. Okay, so defer that till June. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.37, encroachment agreements, North Bay pedestrian bridge connecting 141 Bay Street and Union Station, and Yonge Street pedestrian bridge connecting 141 Bay Street and 1 the Esplanade. Councillor Layton.
Approve the staff recommendations, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.38, construction staging area, 64 to 86 Bathurst Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.39, construction staging area, 33 through 49 Avenue Road and 136 to 148 Yorkville Avenue. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the staff recommendations, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.40, construction staging area, 292 to 298 Dundas Street West. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.41, construction staging area, time extension 276 to 294 Main Street and 144 Stevenson Avenue, Phase 3. Councillor Bradford.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.42, parking amendments, Renson Road. Councillor Bradford.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I would like to support the staff recommendations. Move those.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.43, removal of accessible parking spaces, Dundas Street, non-delegated. Councillor Bailao.
Thank you. Move staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.44, accessible parking spaces, May 2020, delegated. Councillor Bailao.
Move staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.45, pedestrian crossing protection, Adelaide Street East and Ontario Street. I'll move that. All those in favor? Yes. Okay. Okay. I've been advised that the office for Ward 13, which is currently vacant, has sent a request that item be deferred. So I'm going to move to reopen. All in favor, opposed, carried. And then I'll move to defer it until to the June meeting. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.46, mid-block pedestrian signals, 1050 through 1060 Eastern Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Approve staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.47, compulsory stop control, Costain Avenue and Kildonan Road. Councillor Bradford.
I'd like to move the staff recommendations, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.48, traffic calming speed humps. Councillor Bailao.
So
Don
motion
Valley
to move the installation of the speed humps.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item T. Pardon me? Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. So we'll put the motion on the screen. Okay, so this is to approve them. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.49, traffic calming speed humps, Hopedale Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Motion to approve the installation of the speed humps.
Okay, That's on your screen. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.50, traffic calming, speed humps, Walpole Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Motion to defer to the June meeting?
Okay, there's the motion. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.51, use of Nathan Phillips Square for various events from August 1st to 2022 to April 30th, 2023.
I'll move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33. 5.2, appointments to the Board of Management of the Apple Grove Community Complex. Councillor Bailao.
Move recommendations?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.53, Donlands Station, TTC Second Exit Program, parking changes. Councillor Bailao.
I believe there's a motion to change from a no stopping to a no parking. Yep, there we go.
Okay. On the motion, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, I need a motion to introduce new business for items 3354 through 3382. Well done, crew. 28 new items. All those in favor, opposed, carried. I think that's a record. Item TE 33.54, accessible parking space installation, 127 Earls Court Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Move to install?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.55, bollard installation, 19 Silverthorn Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Move to install?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.56, request for traffic study in the North Corso Italia neighborhood. Councillor Bailao.
Move recommendations in the letter?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.57, speed hump installation on Delaware Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Move recommendations in the letter?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.58, speed hump installation on Lawton Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Move recommendations in the letter?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.59, curb depressions and emergency vehicle full access to St. Joseph's Hospital, Melnick Drive from the Queensway. I'll move the recommendations in the letter. All those in favor, opposed, carried.
For the next four, they're all residential demolition, and they are addresses that are connected to residential demolitions on the main agenda. So maybe we should hold on, because we do have a few depths, like it's Raglan Avenue, and it's like 58 to 83 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we could just hold them down until they're
Councillor Matlow, you have letters pertaining to 4 residential demolition applications. And I understand that they're related to an item on the timed agenda for which there are deputations. I would like to recommend that we hold these next 4 items until that one's complete. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So items 3360 through, we got to vote on each one. No, actually, we don't have to vote. I will hold 3360, 61, 62, and 63 in Councillor Matlow's name. Okay. Item TE 33.64, Badger Row Avenue parking changes. Councillor Bailao.
I move recommendations?
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item T. Oh, sorry. What?
Yeah, sorry. There was a motion submitted, sorry.
There's a motion on 64? Okay, I'll hold that in your name, Councillor Bailao. We don't seem to have that. The clerks don't seem to
No?
have that yet. So we'll hold that and come back to it later in the day.
Okay.
Item TE 33.65, Hopedale Avenue and Minton Place all-way stop. Councillor Bailao.
I move recommendations in the letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.66, speed hump installation, Brookside Drive between Beachview Crescent and Burgess Avenue. Councillor Bradford.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the recommendations in my letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.67, speed hump installation, Copeland Avenue between Roseheath Avenue and West Lynn Avenue. Councillor Bradford.
I'd like to move the recommendations in my letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.68, speed humps installation, Corley Avenue between Brookside Drive and Glenmount Park Road. Councillor Bradford.
I'd like to move the recommendations in my letter, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.69, speed humps installation, Oak Park Avenue between Danforth Avenue and Lumsden Avenue. Councillor Bradford.
I'd like to move the recommendations in my letter, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Speed hump installations, Willow Avenue between Queen Street East and Park Avenue. Councillor Bradford.
I'd like to move the recommendations in my letter, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.71, speed humps installation, Woodrow Avenue between Coxwell Avenue and Hillingdon Avenue. Councillor Bradford.
I'd like to move the recommendations in my letter, please. Thank you.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.72, speed hump installation, London Street between Markham Street and Bathurst Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.73, parking and traffic amendments, Cumberland Street between Avenue Road and Bellair Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations in the letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.74, passenger loading zone, Murray Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.75, speed hump installation, Burnfield Avenue between Ossington Avenue and Shaw Street. Councillor Layton.
Move the staff recommendations.
All those in
Move
favor.
the letters, recommendations in my letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.76, speed hump installation, Castle Frank Road between Drumsnab Road and Dale Avenue. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.77, speed hump installation, Euclid Avenue between Barton Avenue and London Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations in my letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.78, speed hump installation, Pendrith Street between Ossington Avenue and Shaw Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations in the letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.79, speed hump installation, Summerhill Avenue between Yonge Street and Summerhill Gardens. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 3.80, speed hump installation and speed reduction, Yorkville Avenue between Bay Street and Avenue Road. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations in my letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.81, traffic control signals, Downs Street at Freeland Street and Downs Street at Cooper Street. Councillor Layton.
I'll move the recommendations in my letter.
Item TE 33.82, parking amendments on Poplar Plains Road. Councillor Matlow.
I move the recommendation.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, members, we now go to the top of the agenda for the statutory items, starting with TE 33.1, naming of an existing public lane west of Rusholme Road extending south of Rusholme Park Crescent. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Councillor Bailão.
Move recommendations for the installation.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.2, 35, 41 through 63, 65, and 95 High Park Avenue, and 66 and 102 through 116 Pacific Avenue, rental housing demolition application, final report. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation? Seeing none, I'll move the recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.3, 1319 Bloor Street West zoning amendment application, final report. We have deputants listed. First, our good friend Adam Brown. Adam, are you with us? I see his icon.
There we go.
There we are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. You know the drill. You have 5 minutes. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of council. Happy to chat with you. We'll be happier when we can see each other in person, hopefully soon. We did submit a presentation package that hopefully you can put up on your screen. And it's probably self-explanatory, but not as self-explanatory as the staff report that's before you as well in the recommendations.
Adam,
this
I'm
is
afraid I can't accommodate you there. If you have materials on your screen that you would like to show us, we can open it up for you to do screen sharing, but we don't.
Oh, it's not working. Okay. Let me.
We do have it as a communication, but it's, I don't even
Can't be put up?
understand.
Okay, so I'm going to try the screen sharing.
You have to put your camera on.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. And you have permission to share your screen if you wish.
Okay. Just tell me, can you see the screen now?
Yes, we
With
can.
the two buildings?
Yep,
Great.
there you go.
Okay. Perfect. So what I was saying at the beginning, this started in 2020, a very iterative, cooperative process with everyone involved, including planning staff, the community, Councillor Bailão, who facilitated discussions with everyone involved in the process. And we think it's probably, as the urban design panel concluded, which is in your staff report, an excellent example of what should be happening near these important mobility hubs, and in accordance with actually city endorsed framework for a planning review of this particular area. It's where you call for in the study the highest densities and heights, obviously done in a sensitive way. In terms of the site and Bloor and Lansdowne, just a block away at St. Helens Avenue. And what you can see here is the Go Kitchener line, the Bloor Go Up Express, the Unionberry line. And in fact, this proposal includes and integrates a station pickup drop-off right in the base of the podium of the design. I'll go away from sort of what's there, which is right now empty with, you know, larger apartment buildings in the surrounding area, and take you through what you know already, which is the mixed use designation, but again, a study that calls for the highest densities around these mobility hubs and gateways. And again, giving you a highlight of the Bloor Go station, the Smart Track and the Lansdowne Go station, and again, the subway, which we know, and the Go Berry line. So again, about as well served by transit as any application I've personally ever dealt with. So this is giving you just a look into the potential expansion of the North Link to Davenport Diamond Guideway, and a perspective from the Bloor Metrolinx rail corridor looking south. And this is now giving you just a bird's eye view of the site and what's been achieved. In addition to what I told you in terms of integrating transit and the location next to transit, there are dedications to Metrolinx. There's a new pedestrian path both adjacent to and through the site. There's a new public park to be dedicated on site. And in addition to that, there is POPs being created, which will enhance the size of that park, which is fairly significant at over a quarter of an acre on a site. So again, a great goal achieved with the direction of staff and planning and urban design and everyone involved in the process and the councillor's office and the community wanting to see on-site parks where you can provide them. So it's been done and it's been agreed to. 47% overall open space on the site. And again, the new residential, obviously near transit with transit stations built into the site. This is giving you sort of a perspective of the design in terms of creating the podium, step back with the taller buildings, which were reduced in height from the original proposal down to from 33 to 31 as at the highest point down to 27. And again, the lower portions. This shows you the Go Bloor Lansdowne station, the incorporation, and the transit obviously right next door. And again, a very elegantly designed project, which again, I mentioned earlier, went through the design review panel, and they actually applauded it as an example of what they wanted to see in these type of sites. And again, giving you the clear way through and the connectivity through the site to the internal parks, which I'll show you in a minute. And again, I would just say spectacular in terms of how the design has focused on open space, hops, and public parks to be dedicated. In addition, we were asked as part of the Section 37 contribution to contribute community space, which is being provided, monies towards that community space in terms of finishing, letters of credit to bring it at least to base conditions, and then an additional $500,000 towards finishing, and also asked to contribute 15 affordable housing units to the site, which has been done. Again, ticks all the boxes, so to speak, in terms of what you'd want to see. I did review some of the community responses, which are concerned that we don't have community space, but we do. Concerned about parks, which we have provided, both public and the POPs, and concerned about shadowing, which we addressed in arriving at a conclusion from your own staff that there's very minimal adverse shadowing even on the low density neighborhoods. So that's again a nice goal that we've achieved. And then again, the final design, which is design excellence for the site.
If I could ask you
And
for
I
just your
will
final
close.
thoughts.
And these are my final thoughts, which is all year round. It's going to be a great site, great open space, and we even provided you the Christmas time of the year. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to come back if you need me to respond to anything that comes up.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Adam? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Adam, for sharing your thoughts with us today. The next deputant I have listed is Kara Sweeney. Kara? We see that
Yes, good
Oh,
morning.
there you are. Go ahead, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. I first wanted to just mention that the comments and submissions links weren't accessible. And I received many comments from neighbors who said they weren't able to access the submissions. And so for that, I'm asking that you delay the decision making on this until all of the participants can participate. But I know that I won't have time to say all the things that I wanted to say. I wanted to refer you to the letters of Mark Hazelden on behalf of the St. Helens Residents Association, where they've clearly articulated the concerns that, and some of which I will mention as a member on behalf of the South Junction Triangle Grows Neighborhood Association. So on behalf of South Junction Triangle Grows, we represent the residents of South Junction Triangle, which is immediately west of this development. We're concerned about the overwhelming number of large condominium developments in this tiny pocket of Toronto. City Councillor Bilau has commissioned an area study to respond to what is a crushing demand. We've been working as a neighborhood association tirelessly on top of our full-time jobs and our homes and family lives to follow these developments and monitor these many applications. We missed this one. We've attended meetings, written letters, so many letters. We've conducted surveys. We've gathered support through social media, and we've been extremely engaged in this process. And despite this, our voices are not being heard. In our small pocket, which is really just 2 short streets, we currently have 5 large condominium development proposals. That, in addition to the already approved massive Sterling Junction development being built at the former Tower Automotive site. They're proposing 3 large employment buildings as well as 3 large condominium towers. This will result in thousands of new residents and employees and visitors to this area in the next few years. In addition, there are the 5 development proposals along Stirling and Perth. Again, this is a primarily 2-story home and 2-story home area, and several businesses, which were automotive mostly. Although many, if not all of the businesses have left in the last year or 2 as their buildings were bought by developers. We have managed to secure, to stave off the developers on 22-1 Sterling, which is the artist lofts. We've been successful in having it declared what I would say is a potential heritage site. And with respect to the Brad Lamb development, that's at the Ontario Land Tribunal, although we're not confident that the city will support us in our claims. There are still 2 large developments for Perth Avenue at least 14 stories each that have already been approved, and another king set proposal at between Stirling and Perth, which is up for approval at the next community council meeting. We've been extremely busy, desperately trying to preserve some of the safety and security of the residents of this tiny neighborhood, but we are nothing compared to the developers. We're extremely concerned about the impact of these developments on the neighborhood. The area study shows that this area is already woefully underserviced with respect to community facilities. The elementary school is over capacity. There aren't enough daycare spots and little to no green space. All of this might be understandable if what was being proposed was affordable housing, and it might be understandable if there was adequate transit, parks, community centers, and daycares, but there isn't. This development fails in any way to add to the community. The affordable housing secured as part of the Section 37 benefit falls far short of the upcoming inclusionary zoning minimums. How can Councillor Bilal claim to have secured any community benefit where she's failed to secure even the minimum to be required by law as of September? This isn't a rush to the bottom. Large condo towers next to transit in the downtown area must include affordable housing. This is prime real estate. Inclusionary zoning will require, as you know, 5 to 6% affordable rentals, 6 to 8% affordable ownership at a minimum. The benefit here is 1.5% of the overall residential area and 1.8% of the units. If Section 37 is to be anything, it should be asking for more than what is required. This proposal needs...
Kara, can I ask you to conclude with one last thought, please?
This is a housing crisis, and the studies show that condominiums are not meeting the needs of Torontonians. This is your City of Toronto studies. We need affordable
thank you very
units.
much.
We
Thank you
can't
very
support
much for your
any more
deputation today.
condominium towers.
Kara, I do have a question for you. I've just checked. All of the formal submissions on this item are available. Are you referring to? I don't quite understand what you're referring to when you say the materials weren't available.
Oh, the link? You couldn't access you couldn't submit through the link. So a number of people expressed concern that they weren't able to file submissions because they couldn't access the link.
I don't understand that. I've just looked, we received yesterday well over a dozen emails from people. So we've been taking, yeah. Anyway, thank you for that. If you have concerns, if there's something about using the system that caused you problems, please do contact the clerk's office and we'll try to work through it. But from what's in front of me, I've got correspondence from all kinds of people from your community that's come in the last few days. So if also this item will be going on to council. So if there are further communications that you're aware of or people who wanted to send us stuff and had some kind of problem, please contact the clerk's office and we'll see how to clear all that up. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I tried last night to connect, and we couldn't connect last night. Not everybody, I mean, some people did, some people didn't, but the link
Yeah.
wasn't working.
Okay, so please do contact the clerk's office and we'll see what the problem was there. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions for Kara? No, seeing none. Kara, thank you for your contribution today. Have a great day. Tom Giancos. There's Tom. Okay, you all settled in? You have 5 minutes to make a presentation to the community council. Please begin when you're ready.
Councillor Perks, it's nice to see you in person. I just want to start off by saying, it's Tom Jankos with Kingset Capital, and I want to start off by saying this site is slated or has been slated for a smart track station. And that piqued our interest, and we worked with Metrolinx as soon as we acquired the site, and we worked with City of Toronto transit staff and City of Toronto planning staff to figure out what we can best fit onto this property. It was an iterative process, and as Adam mentioned, it went to design review panel, and it was well received. And what this site delivers is housing on transit. And when I say that, I want to be very specific. There is a Metrolinx GO station that is located directly in the site that Kingset will be building. This will provide a direct access for this neighborhood into Union Station, one shot. This site is delivering the continuation of the rail line path. This site is delivering a 5,000 square foot community center. This site is delivering to that community center an additional $500,000 to complete it. An on-site park. It is delivering a POPs. Almost 50% of the site is open space. And again, we've worked with city staff to ensure that what we were building here, we believe fits into the surrounding context as it evolves and as it evolves around this new transit station, because this area essentially is going to be a transit hub. And what you see in the presentation that Adam put forward is an area that is rich in transit, and the city needs housing, and this is where housing should be built. And in addition to all of those things, being in Councillor Bellau's ward, we have an affordable housing component as well that we negotiated successfully with staff in the councillor's office. And I want to thank staff. I want to thank Pat Skanga and his group. I know they're inundated and busy trying to get ECS comments out on all these applications, so Pat and his group have been great. I want to thank Dan Nicholson, city staff, urban design, and their team. And I want to thank Victoria Foos, who's the area planner. She's a complete superstar, a pleasure to work with. And I think the city needs more young planners like that as we grow and evolve. So we feel incredibly fortunate to have been able to work with such a great and committed staff. And again, Councillor Blau's office. I don't think we always agree with city staff or the councillor, but we tend to come to a resolution that I think works well and works towards building a city that's progressive, a city that's based on transit. And I know that change isn't always accessible, always easy to take and accept. But I think we've run this process with city staff and with the residents in a way that addresses the majority of the concerns put forward. I don't think we can make everyone happy all the time, again, because development is change and change is difficult to take. But I think that this project hits all of the boxes that the City of Toronto is trying to achieve in their city building efforts that are essentially focused on having density around transit. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have of me.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Tom? No, I don't see any. Tom, thank you so much for coming in to share your thoughts with us today. Next, I have Jessica Davis. Is Jessica with us? Yeah? Jessica, do you have your microphone on? There you are.
I do. Thank you so much. Hi.
Okay, welcome. You've got 5 minutes to address the community council. Start as soon as you want.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for providing this venue and for listening to us. I live right beside 1319 Bloor Street West, and I'm speaking on behalf of the residents of B. Bloor. We request that as you're taking the time to consider the city's future, please consider the concept of legacy and liability. For this specific proposal, city staff have worked hard to take our feedback and research the history of our area. Many of us have invested in this process in the hope that our neighborhood would be valued for something more than its proximity to transit. I am speaking today because I don't see any substantial accommodation made to the residents within this application. We have been left with the same, and I apologize, but unremarkable and oversized tower structure. I don't think Toronto is an unremarkable city, so why is this even being considered? Look at the application, the drawings, the scale, and age it 15, 30, 50 years. You only have to walk a short block to the crossways to find a similar example, and it has not aged well. Do you want this as your legacy? The province's Place to Grow plan notes that our urban centers will be vibrant and provide a diversity of opportunities for living, working, and enjoying culture. How does the removal of the beloved Value Village and the addition of 799 luxury condo units reach these promises? I wholeheartedly disagree with the emphasis on high rises being appropriate for all intersections with subway stops. I just don't understand how this is going to be supported by the city's infrastructure, even with the most optimistic projections of capacity and use. In our particular case, the site is on St. Helens, a street that has a mix of houses and low-rise residential buildings. This soaring structure does not match the area and is being forced to fit like a square block into a round hole. Canadian Architect magazine notes that in areas such as Yonge and Eglinton, many residents complain about the negative impact that high-rises have on access to daylight and views of the city and sky. With the approval of this application, once sunny balconies and backyards of neighboring properties will be in shadow. At B. Bloor alone, the 100 east-facing units will be losing 4 of the 6 hours of morning sun exposure in the spring and fall, and will be left with under 2 hours at summer solstice. This, in addition to the complete loss of view for all units and the loss of visible sky for the lower ones. Since the submission of this application, I have paid attention to the spacing between buildings as I travel around the city, and I'm surprised by how little attention is paid to this. The magazine notes further that the right to light and views has never really gained traction in Canada, as it has in other developed countries. We are voicing these concerns as much for ourselves as for future residents. In the craze to intensify, are city planners ignoring other important detriments of high-rise living? There are examples of cities that have achieved equivalent or more density with mid-rise structures, giving residents easier access to ground level and city life without creating streets dominated by shadows, wind effects, and congestion. As we continue to deal with the pandemic, with the changing relationship that our businesses and schools have with modes of working and learning, and the projected increase in adverse weather events, are high-rise condos really the best option? I, along with many others in our neighborhood and the city, believe that this application and the precedent it sets will be a liability for future residents and planners to the city. Please do not recommend that this application be approved in its current form. And thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Jessica? No? Jessica, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Next, I have Simona Raha. Simona?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. So you'll have five.
Thank you.
You'll have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you'd like.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the council. I do not support the height of the buildings currently proposed in KingSet's application for 1319 Bloor Street West. Myself and more than 500 members of the community signed a petition saying just that. Yet after reading the final report documenting planning staff support in approving this development, I want to speak and have my opposing voice on record. What I do support is building affordable housing for people to live in, for families to grow in, and put down roots in our community. This towering beast will add 799 luxury condos, with even the smallest unit well out of range for a first-time home buyer. Average to middle-income families wanting a home will not even be able to conceive of owning one of the larger units. As is evidenced in similar development profiles around the city, these unaffordable units will be bought up by investors and rented out or used as Airbnbs. Investors prioritize profits, not the livability of the neighborhood. King Set's proposed development doesn't actually offer the hope of homeownership, just the inevitability of transitional living. It is a very real outcome that this will be another notorious ICE condo, which carried the original description. The property features a premier location, celebrated architecture, and robust management, but now is defined by the headline, "A Toronto condo elevator was found spattered with blood." This is not a promising outlook for our community and would not achieve the objective for healthy, livable, and safe communities. The official plan, through policy 2315, outlines that developments adjacent or close to neighborhoods be compatible with those neighborhoods, provide a gradual transition of scale and density to ensure that the stability of the adjacent neighborhood areas are not adversely affected. The proposed skyscrapers in no way gradually transition with neighboring properties, which are mainly single-family homes and mid to low-rise properties. Allowing this ill-fitting development sets a profit-centric precedent. Its developers stacking the deck for other developers. They will all cite this jutting behemoth. Yes, build housing, but take a measured approach. Respect our community's progress in preserving the area with nothing being taller than Mocha. This iconic towering cultural landmark has been brought back to life through collaboration, care, and consideration, and should not be eclipsed by new developments. As a resident of 1369 Bloor Street West, I don't see this proposed new development as a neighbor. It is a bully that will rob more than 100 households of adequate privacy, sunlight, and sky views. All the east-facing units will quite literally be cast in the shadows, having no direct sunlight in the morning or even a patch of sky when looking out our windows. We will need to turn our lights on, turn up our heat in the winter, and seasonal affective disorder will now be year-round. I have lived in this neighborhood for more than 2 decades. I am your constituent, a taxpayer, a voter, and a supporter of local businesses. I have thrived in this community and would like to see it enhanced, not overshadowed. Instead, all I feel after reading the final report is a general disregard for the current residents' concerns and way of life. I ask that City Council not mercilessly stuff more people, cars, and traffic into already gridlocked roads, sidewalks, and public transit. Please show me that you have empathy for our community and don't approve the application in its current form. We can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Simona? No? Simona, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Yeah. That's the list of pre-registered deputants. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Please come forward. Hi, can you just tell us your name, please?
Good morning. My name is Jeannie Stiglick.
Hi, Jeannie. So you'll have 5 minutes and you can watch your time scroll by on the monitor over there. Please start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you very much. I won't repeat some of the eloquent comments made by the local residents. I too am a longtime resident of the area, more than 2 decades. So I just want to point out a couple of things that I noticed while reading these applications, which I'd like to bring to your attention because intentionally or not, there are some statements which are a little bit inaccurate. The first is the statement about the park. It's referenced again and again that there's 1,077 square meters of parkland to the southeast of the project. That in fact is not true if you read in depth the documentation. There's 193 meters which are nowhere near this proposed development. So I'm worried about that inaccuracy. The implication is that there's a lot of parkland on site, and in fact, almost 200 meters of it is nowhere near the proposed development, and somebody should have caught that. Secondly, parking. Why are there 268 parking spaces in a development that is being touted as one of the best developments in terms of transit hubs? And Mr. Giankis himself just said several times that this project delivers housing on transit. It is an area that is rich in transit. We're building a city that is based on transit. Well, if you've got TTC stations, UP Express, and other GO stations, why do you need 268 parking spots? That's a question. The third is congestion. There's going to be an intersection at St. Helens and Bloor, if I've read this correctly. And 50 meters ahead or 100 meters ahead, there is another intersection, which is Bloor and Lansdowne, which is already heavily congested. I don't see an explanation of how traffic will be regulated when you have one intersection so close to another where you have an area of very high congestion currently. There's going to be a pickup and drop off that's going to be bringing in more cars. Again, if this is a transit hub, why do we need a pickup and drop off? Won't people be coming by UP Express? Won't they be coming by TTC? That is what the developer would have us believe, and the city planners. Yet there is a push for this pickup and drop off, which will add to congestion. I'd also like to point out that there are some errors in the amendment, Article 4. Under M and N, the words "the owner" are missing from those subclauses. That's important because it's talking about responsibility for certain actions, and the words "the owner" is missing, and that should be corrected. I'd also like to pick up about the idea of investors and speculation. And I just say this because there was an advertisement for this new project. May not be associated with the developer, it may be with independent real estate agents. But out of curiosity, I called as a member of the public and asked whether the units are already for sale, because some people might be trying to think ahead and plan their lives. And I was told that no, there's nothing happening yet for the public, that there's pre-sale sort of for insiders. And I found that a little bit strange, and perhaps we could ask some questions about what's going on there, because that does speak to the issue of investors or other people buying up these units which are not on the market for the average person yet. And finally, I know that there is a talk of an additional $500,000 for finishing touches on the community center, I believe, or some sort of community space. I find that figure woefully inadequate. You can't even buy a condo for $500,000. So really, how far is a $500,000 budget going to go to finishing any common spaces? I'm open for any questions, and I'm under time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Jeannie? Seeing none? Jean, thank you so much for your comments today.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? No, seeing none. Are there questions of staff? No? Councillor Bailao. Oh, you have questions of staff?
Yes, sorry, I do have questions. of staff.
Okay, floor is yours.
Sorry. Thank you. So through you, Mr. Chair, there was a talk about inclusionary zoning and affordable housing. Are we able to implement inclusionary zoning right now?
Good morning, Victoria Foos here from Community Planning. I see my manager, Dan Nicholson, is on as well. I'm happy to take the question through the chair. No, so inclusionary zoning is not yet applicable and is not yet applicable to this site and this application.
And so the community benefits that were secured, both the affordable housing, the community space, the signals, you know, the list that we have in in the application, it was all secured through the Section 37, which is also coming to an end in July, correct?
That's correct. The benefits we secured were secured through the Section 37 regime, which will be replaced soon by the community benefits charge.
And through you, Mr. Chair, these benefits were negotiated after you came to the conclusion that this was an appropriate planning application. Was that correct?
That's correct. We worked very closely with the applicant and the community. We had a number of meetings with the local residents association to understand their issues. We worked to resolve as many of the issues that we could, recognizing that this is a transit-oriented community. There is transit being delivered on the site, so there's a certain level of intensification that comes with that. But once we were satisfied with the form of the development, we began negotiating Section 37.
So did you look at things like the shadow, the wind, all that to make sure that it fits in within the community?
Correct. We asked that the applicant, and I'm happy to clarify the point about the parkland size on site was increased, and that was because a 193 square meter off-site dedication from a nearby site was added so that we could enlarge. That was a change that was made. Porosity was improved through the site. We secured a break in the building so we could better connect throughout the site, recognizing that there is the transit station. So all of those things were negotiated and discussed prior to Section 37.
And I understand that the community talked about other proposals. So there's two other proposals that staff are not recommending moving forward. One has already appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and this community council supported your position, and council did as well. And the other one, we just approved heritage. Is that correct?
That's correct. So there are a number of applications within this small area, two of which, we've expressed very significant concerns. One, as you said, has been appealed to the tribunal. We wrote a request for directions report seeking direction to oppose that application.
Okay. And there's also a study that was done that also looked at the community facilities, that the needs in the community. And that's why, for example, we requested the community space, because that was identified in the study as well. So is the idea to ensure that, as the developments come through, you get some of these services within the different applications?
That's correct. So the study identified the need for daycare, community agency space, and parkland. So this space would be delivering the community agency space need as well as the parkland need.
And this is on top of the application that was at 158 Sterling, where Mocha is, that came out of that application, that already secured a daycare, affordable housing, and also a new park in that application, correct?
That's correct. And we didn't consider those lands as part of our study because they were largely developed at the time the study was initiated.
Okay, those are my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? No, seeing none. Councillor Bailao to speak.
Thank you. I do just have a small amendment on the application. It has to do with the bike share, because there's conversations about Metrolinx adding already bike share, so we don't know if we're doubling. So just in case, we want to make sure that in case they don't, that we have the developer also paying for that and including that station in the deliverables as of the part of the Section 37. As you heard from some of the residents, there are some concerns because there's a lot of development happening in here. I do want to thank staff, because staff has been working not only on this application, but the study that we've done in the neighborhood, because with all this transit and attention being paid to the area, we could see the development coming through, and we initiated a community study to plan things and to really identify some of the needs that we're going to have in order to accommodate the growth that was coming. Change is never easy, and when you ask a community to change substantially, the anxiety levels obviously go up. I think that with the current planning system that we have and the mechanisms that we have available right now to secure the many community benefits that we did, I think this is an application that we should support. We know that Section 37 will be gone after July, and that it's going to be even harder to secure some of these community benefits that we need. But I think we also have to balance things out. And I think that staff, through their recommendations, and that's why I've been supporting their positions, they're doing that. They're not just blanking supporting every application that has come through. As you've heard from Victoria, there's 2 applications that we have serious concerns and we have issues. This application staff worked very closely with the applicant. Yes, it is high density, but this is an area that is very well served with transit. It is a growth area. And at the end of the day, you know, people say it's luxury condos. I've asked for us to reflect many times that, you know, the $700,000, $800,000, they're not affordable housing. You know, market is never going to produce affordable housing for us. We need to get this idea straight that governments will need to invest in order to get the deeper affordability right now. But let's also understand that there is a space for the market to have an impact on the housing, because a condo that is $700,000 or $800,000, it is still cheaper than the $1.5 million homes that are going up for sale in my neighborhood. And so for many people, they can't afford the 1.5 million, but they might be able to afford the 800,000 condo. And the city is growing. We're going to grow by 25% in the next 30 years. So we need good development, and that's why I support staff in, you know, refusing certain applications and supporting other ones. But given the work that was done, given the professional advice, given the need that we have in our city to build housing, that's why I will be supporting the staff recommendations for this report.
Thank you. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none. Anyone else to speak? No. We'll take the amendment and the item as a package. All those in favor, opposed, carried. All right. That takes us to item TE 33.4, 1500 through 1536 St. Clair Avenue West, and 20 through 36 Caledonia Road, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application, final report. I have 2 deputants listed. First, Sasha Lauzon.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. You'll have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you. So good morning, Mr. Chair and members of Council. My name is Sasha Lauzon. I am the Senior Director of Planning at District Developments. On behalf of District and our partners at Altera, we'd like to express our thanks and gratitude to staff and Deputy Mayor Balau's office for all of their hard work on this exciting project. This project was well received by the design review panel and will be a great addition to the neighborhood while cleaning up a former industrial site and making efficient use of the underutilized lands. This development will not only take advantage of the nearby transit infrastructure, but will also provide community benefits such as affordable housing units, a publicly accessible landscaped rail trail, a publicly accessible piazza along St. Clair Avenue West, and off-site parkland dedication. We're excited to continue to work on this project and are here to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Sasha, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Next, I have Carolyn Richard. Carolyn?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're a little faint. Maybe you could move a bit closer to the microphone or speak up. You have 5.
Will do.
There you go. You have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of council. I'm Carolyn Richard. I'm here from representing the architects, Sweeney & Co. Architects, who are the designers of this particular project. I'm just here to support the project, and if there are any technical questions that need answering, I'm here to provide those answers. I also would like to reiterate what Sasha was saying, that the project was well received by the design review panel, for which we're quite proud, and we think it'll be an excellent addition to the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? No? Questions of staff? No? Councillor Bailao, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, allow me to make a comment, not so much about only this application, but actually the other one, because one of the deputants comment on our staff, and I have to say that, you know, these two applications have fairly young staff, but it's been such a pleasure to work with dynamic planners that we have in our city. Victoria, now Melanie, I think this might be one of her first applications, and under the leadership of Dan. And so thank you, because they've been fantastic to work with, open-minded, creative, and that's how we've been able to do a lot of the good things that I'm going to talk about in this application. So this application was really well received by the urban design guidelines. I think it's quite a nice design, and with the piazza there on St. Clair, I think it's going to be a great addition. But there's two things that I would like to bring to your attention. One of them is obviously this application is just kitty corner with Earls Court Park, one of the biggest parks in the area. And we had just finished doing a park study just east of the cemetery, which is an area of my area. It was the St. Clair Oakwood study. It included my area and Councillor Matlow's area. And I have huge parts that, you know, there's nothing else that we can do other than acquiring property. And so what we worked with this developer was for him to go and try to acquire property in those areas. And so we are in the very, very final stages of actually acquiring property to in a very close proximity to this site, but in an area that has been identified as park deficient to increase parkland in there. So I'm quite excited by that. And thank the developer for being so committed, going out, getting the properties, getting it under contract, and they're working with our staff now just to make sure that the environments are all good. So thank you for that. The other point that was quite exciting as well is, I don't know if you remember about a development that I had at Bloor and Dufferin, where we secured money to create a land trust. So we created a land trust that I've been working with that is actually composed of Habitat for Humanity, the Co-op Housing, and St. Clair's Multi-Faith. And so we've been able to work with them in this project. I brought them in, and we've been able to secure affordable housing. In this case, is going to be ownership. And we brought another organization. We brought in Black North to be involved in this. So we are going to be securing square footage, because they're still finishing the design on the units, but we think it's going to be approximately about 40 units. That is going to be secured through affordable housing for Habitat and Black North through that initiative. And so I'm very, very pleased. I want to thank the Land Trust. If you haven't done it in your communities, think about it, because how we can get things done has been quite successful. It's been great. We've secured lots of affordable housing that is now owned by the Land Trust. So I'm hoping also to enhance their capacity to continue to build more and operate more affordable housing. And this is one of the projects that they're going to be involved. And I'm very thankful for all the work, and thankful for the developer as well to embrace that and to work with us and with the nonprofits to make sure that we have a great model that is going to secure affordable homeownership, but for 99 years. So it's a bit of a new model, and I'm proud of that. And so thank you. And with that, I move staff recommendation. Oh, actually, I have a motion with some fine tuning language that staff had asked me to move. So if you indulge me, I think it's quite a long motion.
Let you get away with it this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take the amendment and the item all together. All those in favor, opposed, that carries. Okay, TE 33.5, 361 Davenport Road, zoning bylaw amendment application final report. I have listed Costa Derbish. Costa? Ellen?
Good morning, Council. I'm Deputant and planner on the file for this application for rezoning and site plan approval. So this file has gone through 4 submission cycles through with city planning staff and numerous design iterations with both between both staff and local residents during several public meetings that were held by the applicant, and these were held with Councillor Layton and the Annex Residents Association. Through these meetings and design iterations, we feel that the proposal has been improved for all parties involved, and therefore we feel that it should be recommended for approval. So we're here to answer any questions that may arise from council or anyone else.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the deputant? No? Seeing none, Costa, thank you so much for joining us. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? No? Are there any questions of staff? No? Councillor Layton?
Nope, I have a motion. City Council request as part of the review of the site plan for the development in conjunction with the ward councillor, review the applicant measures to minimize and mitigate overlook from the proposed development on adjacent properties on Admiral Road, including but not limited to altering height and materiality of balcony railings, and then a couple other things there. Listen, as was expressed by the applicant, we did go through some rather significant design iterations on our way to a final approval. I think it speaks to the process that we went through, that we don't have any speakers in opposition today. I would say it's a very unique site, and one word of caution I would say is one unfortunate outcome of this, because of the size of the site, is the proximity of the now facing wall to the small apartment building to the south. We need to be mindful of where we put windows that may one day have a development next to it, because certainly I think that those units will be significantly impacted. I think the overall view was eventually a 3-story walk-up apartment building would likely get redeveloped as well, which would allow us to address that condition. So I would just be cautious when developers say this is a unique circumstance. They can put windows on that party wall. That maybe that will change, because that's, I'm assuming, what people thought with respect to this property. But I'm prepared to move the staff recommendations along with my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none, we'll take it all as a package. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Next, we have TE 33.6, 502 and 508 through 510 Spadina Avenue, Scott Mission. I have no deputants listed. Oh wait, no, there is one. Here we go. Sorry. Kimberly Harrison McMillan. Kimberly, are you with us? Kimberly?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay, good morning.
You'll have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and councillors. My name is Kimberly Harrison McMillan. I am a planner and project manager with Design Plan Services. On behalf of the Scott Mission and DPS, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank city staff for all of their hard work on this application. It has truly been a pleasure working with Senior Planner Mladen Cusick and appreciate his commitment to this project. We would also like to thank zoning reviewer Asif Patel, Sarah Powers of the Housing Secretariat's office, engineering staff, and Councillor Layton for their efforts and support. Also, we are incredibly grateful for the city's Open Door Affordable Housing Program, which is providing contributions and incentives for this project. Lastly, a big thank you to the community who has been involved in the process and provided valuable input into the application. We are grateful for their support and engagement. We are truly excited to reach this milestone today and look forward to continuing to work with staff on the site plan application that was submitted last month. We believe the work that the Scott Mission does is valuable to the community and provides a resource to the area. The Scott Mission is very excited to bring these deeply affordable units online with their transformational services and appreciate Community Council's consideration of this proposal that we understand is supported by city staff as reflected in the report. That concludes my comments and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Seeing none. Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation? Seeing none. I don't have to ask that anymore. Are there any questions of staff? No? To speak, Councillor Layton.
I'll move the staff recommendations, and like, what can I tell you? 100% affordable housing building, replacing the shelter units to a higher standard. There is not much better outcome than you can get than this. In early days when they came forward with their proposal, I think everyone knew, and I'm not surprised that we got a big thank you to Mladen, the planner on the file, because I think everyone involved saw this as a bit of a labor of love, one that we wanted to see passed as expeditiously and painlessly as possible. It's critical that these approvals come as quickly as they can for housing of this sort and the like, and I wish we were seeing more of them. I wish there were resources in place that we could see most new developments come forward with such an aggressive proposal to build affordable and deeply affordable housing in this case. I was with the Residents Association just yesterday evening for their annual spring meeting, and nothing but good things were said about the site. And I am enormously proud that that the community stepped up the way that I knew they would in support of this application. So thank you to them. Thank you to the Scott Mission. If there's anything else we can do to help expedite the process in this regard, please let us know. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none. Anyone else to speak? No. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Next, TE 33.7, 46 and 48 Lang Street, zoning bylaw amendment application, final report. Michael Bissett is listed to make a deputation. Michael, are you with us?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mike Bissett here from Bathurst. I'd just like to say that we worked hard with staff to sort out the issues initially with the project. This is a 4-story townhome infill project at Sears and Lang, and we are supportive of the staff recommendations. I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Mike, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
That completes the list of deputants. Are there any questions of staff? No? Seeing none. This is Councillor Bailao, I suppose.
Staff recommendations.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries.
Give me 1 second,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Chair. Going through my, there is a motion to add more
Okay.
recommendations though.
Okay.
Long motion, yeah.
Did we get that up? Yeah, okay. If we can just scroll so that we get the whole thing. Okay. So we'll take the amendment and the item as a package. All those in favor, opposed, that carries. Next, Item TE 33.8, 177 Caledonia Road and 19 Innes Avenue, part lot control exemption application, final report. I have no deputants listed on this item. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none. Oh, I've lost track of, oh, there we go. Councillor Bailao.
I move staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.9, 438 through 440 Avenue Road and 169, 171B Balmoral. Official plan and zoning amendment application and rental housing demolition application, request for direction. I have no deputants listed on this item. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none, Councillor Matlow.
I move to support the request.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, item 33.10, 383 and 387 Sherburne Street zoning amendment and rental housing demolition applications, request for direction report. I have two deputants listed. Sandra Fitzsimmons. Sandra?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Good morning, Chairman and members of council. I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name is Sandra Fitzsimmons. I'm a Harvard Collegiate grad. I went to George Brown for art and design. I'm currently working freelance and gig work, but I've served coffee to the cast of Degrassi and Flashpoint. I've interned at a Play Dead clothing cult. I've fried food and I've served beverages at the Rogers Center. I've worked the phones at the Fringe Festival office. I've contributed to Nuit Blanche, and I've spent 12-hour shifts in a red smock in TTC stations, helping locals and tourists alike find their way. I am a downtown Torontonian, and I've been renting here for over 16 years in 6 different locations, and I've always made sure that I would be able to fulfill my obligations when I sign a lease for a home. I'm also a tenant of 383 Sherburne, and I have been since before NJS Capital and their venture capitalist owner Richard Black purchased the property. They inherited my lease in the same way my current cell phone company inherited my contract from a previous provider. We'll come back to that in a minute. The recommendation of this request, similar to the last request to build a condo tower here, there's stipulation that the current tenants will be found similar size and cost units. There's no limit to location, however, and this will likely displace tenants who will live in and work in this neighborhood. I can't speak for other tenants, but I didn't choose this location on a whim. I chose it because it fits the puzzle pieces of my and my partner's lives together. The idea of someone else picking where I will live next is a bit insulting. I do not have faith that this building management will fulfill the stipulations respecting tenants' rights to satisfaction. To see why, all you would need to do is look at the long list of 311 complaints and charges laid to the owner regarding upkeep and management that has steadily grown since the purchase of this property. I don't understand why a rental housing demolition application was submitted for 32 existing rental units and not for the 44 empty units in the condemned 387 location. Personally, I think the most considerate route would be to demolish the building that's not in use, rebuild that, and then relocate current tenants next door after they put us through a year of renovations earlier, building that resulted in my bathroom ceiling collapsing. It's obvious that noise and disruption is not going to be a concern, but doing that would be prioritizing the people over the profit. The phone provider who inherited my contract has never openly resented me for having a lower cost plan than they currently offer. I've never felt my phone provider was neglecting the services my contract outlines. I've never felt like my phone provider had a financial burden that would be passed on to me and limit my ability to use my phone to the fullest. The phone provider market has never made me feel like I would be phoneless. In conclusion, I'm opposed to the demolition of 383 Sherburne. So far, every application for this property has meant the removal of affordable housing. I would like to echo Kara Sweeney, this is an affordable housing crisis. Developers in their target markets are not the people who serve coffee and make fries. The service industry and renters in general deserve better than fighting for scraps, regardless of how the city might use those property taxes or what a developer might promise to sweeten the deal for the city. The kids in these family-sized condos will grow up and move out eventually. What's going to be left for them? Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I don't see any. Sandra, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you for your time.
The next deputant I have listed is Walid Kagali. Walid?
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Good morning. Hello, Councillor.
How are you?
And members of council, can you folks hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I'm speaking in favor of the staff recommendation and in opposition to the application. I did attend a session where residents of Toronto Centre, residents of my community and surrounding neighborhoods were deeply concerned with the lack of deeply affordable housing or affordable housing. And in fact, what we're deeply concerned about was the reduction in potential rental units as well, or more housing. My question to staff and to members of council, in the report, it states that council had about 90 days to respond to the application. I'm just wondering if that is the case, that there was a response from city council with regards to the application being put forward at 383 and 387 Sherbourne Street. I'm assuming that the staff recommendation is to speak against the application at the OLB. So I just wanted to communicate my support for the staff recommendation and my opposition for the application.
Thank you, Walid. Are there any questions? No? Walid, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Have a great day. Those are the only two deputants I have listed on the item. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none, Councillor Matlow.
Sorry, Mr. Chair?
Hi.
What are you calling me on?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've called the wrong.
I figured.
Sorry. So this is Councillor, well, this is Ward 13. So I will move the staff recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. It's awkward with two members of council, two vacant seats. Okay. Next, we have item TE 3310, which is, 11. '53 through 55 Yonge Street, zoning bylaw amendment application, request for directions. I do not have any deputants listed on the item. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none, on behalf of the residents of Ward 13, I guess I will just move the recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.13, front yard parking appeal at 62. I skipped 12. My God, what is with me today? Item TE 33.12, alterations to a heritage property and authority to enter into a heritage easement agreement, 353 through 355 Sherbourne Street and 157 Carlton Street. There are no deputants listed on the item. I will move it in the absence of a councillor for Ward 13. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Now we go to TE 33.13, front yard parking appeal, 624 Davenport Road. I have no deputies.
I can make this very simple.
Okay, Councillor Matlow.
Yeah, we've consulted with the applicant. They are waiting for a committee of adjustment hearing, which isn't until August. So I'd like to defer the item until the next term, if possible.
Okay. opposed, carried. Item, oh, these are the, we can, okay. Item TE 33.14, residential demolition application 246 Albany Avenue. I have deputant listed, Jonathan Chang. Jonathan?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You've got 5 minutes. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. Good morning. My name is Jonathan Chang. I'm counsel for Talus Bathurst Limited. My clients applied to demolish 2 connected semi-detached houses located at 246 and 248 Albany Avenue. These are reflected in items TE 33.14 and 33.15. So I'm happy to have my comments apply to both items, and if you'd like for the matters to be considered altogether. These 2 properties are part of a larger development parcel that's at the northeast corner of DuPont Street and Bathurst Street. And my client is redeveloping that parcel for an 8-story self-storage building. This is a proposal that we're very excited about. It's one that's involved a rezoning for which we've reached a settlement with the various residents groups, as well as with the city in March and April of this year. And most recently, in fact, the OLC has approved the rezoning in principle on April 29th of this year. So the reason why we need to demolish these buildings at this time is so that we can begin environmental testing and the remediation work needed in these early stages. And just for context, in addition to these 2 houses, there's also a car wash that's presently on site on the development parcel. So we're planning to begin construction in the summer or the fall of this year. And given the construction schedule as well as the committee schedule, we need to move forward at this time with the environmental cleanup work. And we're asking community council to grant the demolition permits for these 2 houses. This is preliminary stage work. We won't have the building permits for the 8-story building in hand for that reason. And that's why we need your authorization for the demolition permits under Chapter 363 of the Municipal Code. So our client has been in regular contact with Councillor Layton's office throughout the redevelopment process, and we've been very much appreciative of the council's support for the proposed development and his continued support for these demolition applications. We've also had a chance to review the staff report, and we're pleased that staff have not raised any concerns. We've taken a look at the set of 4 conditions outlined in staff's report. We understand that this is the standard set of conditions for demolition, dealing with things like fencing, removal of debris and rubble, and other matters, and we're fine with these conditions. So all that said, we're excited to move forward with the redevelopment of this site, which will provide for a well-designed and much-needed self-storage service for new and existing residents in this evolving and dynamic area. Thank you again for your consideration, and subject to any questions, those are my submissions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none.
I'll move the recommendation recommendation 3 on both this item and the next item, please.
Okay, so, yeah. If we can just have number 3 up, okay, so that people can see that. All those in favor, opposed, carried. And moving now to TE 33.15, residential demolition application 248 Albany Avenue. We can have the motion 3 up, please. Okay, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Next, we have TE 33.16, residential demolition application 1530 Bathurst Street. I have no deputants listed on that item. Councillor Matlow.
I move number 3.
Okay. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.17, residential demolition application 65 Raglan Avenue. Any questions? No. Councillor Matlow.
Option 3, please.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.18, residential demolition application 73 Raglan Avenue. Councillor Matlow.
Option 3.
All those in favor, we can have it up. Yeah, if we can have it up. Okay, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.19, residential demolition application 75 Raglan. Councillor Matlow.
Option 3.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.20, residential demolition application 77 Raglan. Councillor Matlow.
Option 3.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.21, residential demolition application, Raglan Avenue. Councillor Matlow.
L'option numéro 3, s'il vous plaît. Juste quelque chose de différent.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. I have to call the vote in English, sorry. Item TE 33.22, residential demolition application, 83 Raglan Avenue. Councillor Matlow.
L'option 13, por favor.
Okay, all those in favor, opposed, carried. And if we can just all for a moment acknowledge Amanda's virtuosic abilities with the computer and the screen and the display. That was really quite something, that little run there. Okay, next we have an application to remove a private tree at 351 Kennedy Avenue. I have no deputants listed on this item. I am going to be moving the staff recommendation. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Oh, right. Oh, members, fun historical note. That was the first time we voted on it with delegated authority. It doesn't go to city council. You just decided. Feels great, doesn't it? Okay.
Sure, but you can hear the chainsaws from Etobicoke.
I know, right? It's sad. Item TE 33.24, application to remove a private tree, 49 Sumac Street. I do have a deputation here. Derek Roy. Derek, are you with us? I see that there's someone connected by that name. Derek, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. Hi, Derek, welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chair and members of council. My name is Derek Roy. I'm the owner of 49 Sumac Street. I sent you a presentation via email document, and if you guys can pull that up, great, please.
Derek, we can't really do it that way.
If
that's
you
fine.
want, I can just speak.
No, hang on a sec. I'm going to give you an option. If you want, you could turn on your camera and we can give you permission to share your screen if you have a document you want to show us. That's the only real option I can offer you. Does that work for you? Or?
Yeah, I can just give you the rundown of what's happening here.
So you just want to keep going then? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just bullet point.
Okay.
Bullet point it.
Go ahead.
We have a mature female ginkgo biloba tree on our property in our backyard. And this tree drops hundreds and hundreds of fruit bulbs around peak season. If you read up on the specific tree, these bulbs are poisonous when ingested. They cause convulsions, hallucination, food poisoning, in some cases death. We have a 2-year-old child and planning to have more children. So this is very concerning to us. We have 2 dogs as well, and it's very dangerous for them to ingest these bulbs. Our neighbor's been complaining a lot about this tree. Our direct neighbors, Ashley Egerton and Mike Sullivan, who sent previous emails to the city about their complaints. They're very concerned about their children. Mike has 2, and Ashley has 1, and their kids ride and play in the laneway, and the fruit bulbs drop everywhere. and they splatter and smell like vomit, and we're getting complaints from them a lot, and they're our friends. So it's this tree is obviously a nuisance to a lot of people in the area, and these are my direct neighbors. We love trees. We'd like to plant a different tree if that's possible for the compensation, no problem. If that's better for the neighborhood, this specific tree is just not good for our family, our growing family. We have the report from the arborist said that we want to remove the tree due to a pool. That's not true. We removed our pool and we made a smaller pool, eco-size friendly pool, half the size of the previous one. Other notes that we have is our dog got attacked by a raccoon. We had to bring it to the hospital and almost died. The raccoons are attracted to these fruits because they drop feces, and that's very dangerous as well. By denying this proposal, we'd be putting my child and other children's health at risk. My job as a father is to protect my family, and by removing this tree, I'd be doing so. Thanks for your time, and I'd like to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, that's the only deputant that I have listed on this item. It's Ward 13. So, just give me one.
Hey, Councillor,
yes.
Can we ask Forestry? Can I ask Forestry just a couple quick questions?
Sure. Yeah. You do that.
Just I'd never heard about the toxicity of ginkgo bulbs, and I tried to Google it quickly, and it's kind of conflicting information that I'm seeing here. Can someone speak to the public health hazard of ginkgo nut?
It's because it's a female ginkgo biloba.
I'm sorry, Councillor. I'm looking for an answer from our city staff.
Oh, sorry.
With respect, Derek, I totally get your position, but I'm wondering what our staff have to say.
Derek, we've brought this into the committee now. Thank you for your deputation, but it's just councillors and staff now. Is there someone from Forestry?
Through the chair, this is Will from Urban Forestry. So for the ginkgo fruits, if you ingest the raw fruits, it can cause kind of toxicities to the human beings or the animals. But if it's just a touching, it doesn't really seem like it's going to cause a huge kind of allergic or kind of a public health issues.
Sorry, can we review that for a second? If you do ingest them, they're mildly toxic.
Correct. Yeah, the raw fruit. So, but in some kind of Asian cultures, they use that as a cuisine if you properly cooked them, and the toxicities would be kind of very mild.
So they're mildly toxic if you cook them, but the raw food is toxic? The raw food is toxic.
Yeah, that's correct.
And is there any validity to the claim that like touching the fruit has some kind of reaction?
So that really depends on the kind of the person who touching those. So far, we don't have any evidence to show like touching the fruits going to cause any significant allergic issues.
On the website I quickly brought up, it said that the skin of the fruit can have a reaction similar to poison ivy. Is that true?
Not to our knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, are there any other questions? Okay, just 1 second, please.
Councillor,
yeah.
I don't know if the office of Ward 13, 14.
Yeah, it's Ward 13.
I'm sorry.
Toronto
Ward Center.
13. Yeah.
If they've sent you any direction, to be honest, like, and normally I wouldn't do this, but I think we need to send it back to staff for some consideration as to the hazards associated with this fruit. Like, to be honest, I don't want to vote for it to be removed, but like, I really think in the 2 seconds I got pulling up from a gardening website that it doesn't say necessarily that these trees are bad. There is some validity to
Can I make a proposal, Councillor Layton?
Yes, please.
Like when we were doing the the tree bylaw, there were conversations with public health about any noxious plants and how all of that worked. But I take your point that this is something you would like to know more on. Can I suggest we defer consideration of it to the next meeting and try to use the time between now and then getting straight what the risks are here? Okay? Does that work for you?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
Good. So I'll move to defer that to the next meeting of Toronto East York Community Council. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Now we are at 415 Broadview Avenue, official plan and zoning amendment applications preliminary report. We have some deputants on this item. First is Robert Osborne.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Robert. You have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Hi, I'm not sure. I can't hear what's going on, whether I've been asked to speak.
Yes, Robert, please go ahead. Robert?
Hello?
Hello.
Testing?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Yes, hi. I'm not sure. I cannot hear whether I'm actually being heard or not.
Members, can you please put your thumbs up so that Robert knows that we can hear him? Thank you so much,
Can
Councillor
somebody
Bylaw.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can all be hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to assume that people can hear me even though I cannot hear myself. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. Thank you very much for allowing me to sit in here and to speak. I am part of an ad hoc group on Simpson and Victor Avenue. There are about 70 families involved, and we have all gotten together and created a little group to keep each other informed. The unifying factor is the fact that we are all adamantly opposed to this development at 415 Broadview. I do note that the community council report is not really wildly in favor of it, and they have some questions as well. But I also note that at this point, this is just to defer it to more community consultation. So I don't want to take a lot of time, but I do want to hit the high points of what it is that's making our community so upset with with this development. And it starts with the fact that though their report that was submitted to city planning speaks of extensive consultation, there has in fact been no consultation to this point. I have not spoken to a single person on either of those streets that has had any degree of consultation from the developer. So I have a problem with that lack of transparency in the report that they have submitted. The other problem, of course, that's obvious is the height. They're asking, they keep changing the height, but they say 10. It really is 11 when you put all the machinery on top of the building. They're asking for 11-story neighborhood that is restricted to 4 stories. That is not only going to cause massive shade problems with about a dozen different families and privacy problems, but it is going to be a complete eyesore. But what's got people most upset about this whole thing are the parking reports that have been done. And there's a bit of disingenuousness involved in this report that they submitted to city planning, because they did the study at the time of the year when parking is allowed on both sides of the street. Now, if you talk to anybody on that street that has to use street parking, they will tell you they often have to drive around the block a couple of times to find a parking spot. That's in the summer. In the winter, when there's only parking on one side of the street, it can be almost impossible to find parking. And yet, the study that this developer submitted to City Hall said, no, there's no problem at all. There's lots of parking on those two streets. It's just not the case. And it's disingenuous for them to even suggest that there is. They also tried to suggest that there would not be any impact on traffic flow. And again, I suggest that this is incredibly disingenuous of them. They are saying that on a street with approximately 100 houses, that's what Simpson has, they're going to add 60 more units. But that's not going to have any impact on the flow of traffic. A 60% increase in the number of residents, but no impact. Well, I don't know. I just find that completely very hard to believe. So the other things that we're concerned with very quickly, because I see I'm running low on time, I think the garbage pickup is concerning people. There is not a route for the garbage trucks to get in and out. They're going to have to back in and back out. That's going to create safety for the many children on the street. There also is going to be, there's some concern about the supposed guarantee of low-cost housing. They've sort of thrown that into the plan. And yet when you look for specifics, a memorandum of understanding, a mention of the group that they may be working with, nothing like that. There's no details. So we feel it's just sort of a sop to throw into the report. So the bottom line is, obviously we are totally against this development. We would not like to see them get a height variance. This is all about the next step, though, and that is the community consultation. And here is what I would like to ask if somebody in this council can put an amendment. Right now, they are only required to consult with people within 120 meters of the development. But Simpson and Victor are one-way streets. It's going to affect the whole streets. They will need to consult with double that distance, at least 240 meters, or the whole of the street from Broadview to Howland for both Simpson and Victor. That should be the proper area that they should be required to to consult with. So that's really what I want to emphasize today. We're against it. We do want to be consulted, but not just the people who are immediately adjacent to it, everybody who is going to be affected by that. And with 10 seconds left, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you so much, Robert. Are there any questions for Robert? Seeing none? Okay. Robert, thank you for sharing your time with us today. The next deputant I have is Lance Hornby. Lance?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Lance, welcome.
Thank you.
You'll
yes.
have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me this morning. As well as a poor fit aesthetically in our neighborhood, my major concern with this project is traffic flow and parking. Cars already use Simpson Avenue as a shortcut westbound to Broadview. That's when Girard is crowded, which it most often is. This project will only increase traffic patterns further and have a risk to safety. Last night, I watched some kids trying to play ball hockey on our street using just part of the road. Of course, not not out on the street itself, but everyone had to stop every 10 or 15 seconds as the cars were going through. Today, as Robert alluded to earlier, is garbage day on our street. And there's already a long line of cars. The pickup started this morning and it's going on. So I can just imagine how bad that's going to be when you add service vehicles and other parking and garbage pickup and other things that will be associated with that project down the street. I just wanted to say, as a 30-year resident of Simpson Avenue, I urge the city to take my fellow residents' concerns in consideration. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Lance? No, seeing none. Lance, thank you so much for your time today. The next deputant I have listed is Tom Grant. Tom?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Welcome. So,
Wonderful.
Tom, you'll have 5 minutes to address the committee. You can start as soon as you're ready.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. We're the owners of 12 Simpson Avenue, the home located directly to the east of 415 Broadview, and we share their entire eastern property line. We wish we actually didn't have to speak today. When we first heard about St. John's was going to be redeveloped as a condo, we'd hoped to support the project. Riverdale's a wonderful place to live and raise a family, and we're actually very lucky to own a home here. And we want others to have the same opportunity. If homeowners reflexively fight sort of every development comes along, we're ready to support a 5-star condo, even if it meant living next to a construction zone for years. Surprisingly to us, and unfortunately to the developers of 415, have proposed a tower that's twice as high as we'd fathomed, and it includes a G-type loading garage, which is especially concerning for us and the safety of our sidewalks. According to site plan, the structure will be flush with our fence line and only feet from our house. This is the G-type garage. And that means that if the proposal succeeds, a minimum 6-meter tall concrete wall will be erected just feet from our kitchen, our dining room, our living room, and our entire backyard. And we have many concerns with this proposal. We've submitted a letter on behalf of ourselves and a second letter that contains a collection of concerns from multiple community members. These concerns deal with topics like heritage, density, massing, setbacks, height, site circulation, affordable housing, amongst many others. But due to time constraints, I'll just touch on a few that affect us. So number one, it'll cast our yard in your constant shadow and impair our view of the city. We have 3 young boys. Our family spends most of our warm nights with our boys playing and jumping the trampoline in the backyard. We eat our meals there. The proposed 11-story condo itself would block most of our afternoon sunlight. But to make matters worse, this G-type loading area would function as a 6-meter tall prison-like concrete structure or prison. We also view the shadow assessment included in the proposal. We've reviewed it. We feel it underestimates the shadow the building would cast not only on our property, but on our neighbors. An 11-story building would also permanently block our view of the skyline from our 3rd story, westward-facing windows. It creates some privacy concerns as well, as we have both washrooms and children's bedrooms the proposed building could look into. The proposed density and massing represents a significant overdevelopment of the site. And we also feel there's no regard for the policies and direction as it relates to the compliance with the 45-degree angular plane that's asked of structures like this. Number 2 is it'll ruin our enjoyment of our backyard. The loading structure we built right along our fence line, as I previously mentioned, as we understand it, the structure will accommodate the delivery of trucks and stored garbage. The plan includes no setback for this structure, so we'd like to see a minimum setback of 50 feet from our property line in order to create some separation from our backyard. We'd also recommend a similar setback for properties that back onto the church from Victor Avenue. We'd prefer that this structure be moved away from our property or scrapped altogether so we can have some hope of enjoying our backyard in the future. The third concern, and this is one that we really sort of hold near and dear, is the potential for children and other members to be run over. Many young children scoot, bike, and run along Simpson Avenue throughout the day, and Simpson is also heavily walked by the residents of L'Arche, Toronto, which is a home for men and women living with intellectual disabilities. L'Arche is located at 9 Simpson Avenue, which is directly across the street from the entrance to the G-type loading area. We're very concerned that the narrowness of this entry towards the G-type loading area will not allow trucks to turn around and safely exit the premises facing forward. And when trucks are not able to back out, or when trucks are forced to back out of a loading area, there's a serious risk of children and other members of the community being hit, killed, or run over or injured in some capacity. Final one is just this proposed parking garage, and we're worried about the parking elevator itself. The elevator will only be able to add or remove 1 car at a time, and if multiple people want to get in and out of the parking lot at the same time, a line will form that'll extend out onto Simpson, blocking the roadway and stopping the flow of traffic on a one-way street. The queue will leave cars idling, which is bad for the environment. And the very fact that the developers of 415 are pitching a car elevator tells you everything you need to know about how inappropriate this site is for such a structure, and it's just too small. They simply don't have the room to build an underground proper garage, let alone one that would accommodate the number of spaces they're requesting. And it's on a streetcar line. We ask that you reject the proposal and send the developers back to design a reasonable condo that will allow us to welcome many new friends and neighbors to 415 Broadview Avenue without ruining our quality of life. Thank Thank you very much for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions for Tom? No? Tom, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. Have a great day. That concludes the list of deputants. Are there any questions of staff? No? Seeing none, I will move the staff report. Oh, Councillor Bailao, you have something on this one?
Yeah, there's recommendations that Councillor Fletcher would like to add.
Ah, okay.
Motion.
Thank you. Okay. So with that amendment, we'll take it all as a package. All those in favor, opposed, carried. We are racing today, guys. The only thing we've got left are, well, we've only got, what, five things left, and 4 of them will be enormously quick. Councillor Matlow.
Back at him.
Back at it. We held those residential demolition applications. So why don't we begin with 67 Raglan, item 60.
And just for your context, same thing. These are ones that they had omitted to put in, so staff asked me to do this to make sure that all the properties were included.
Okay. So if we can have the motion up. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item 61, which is the demolition.
But I don't need to say option 3 anymore. We just vote on the letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we have to put it up. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Item 3361, 69 Raglan Avenue. Councillor Matlow.
I move option 3.
There is no option 3.
Well, that is option 3 written in the letter. Yeah. Okay, now it's the only option.
I'm
Option
having
3
an
is now the only
existential
option.
crisis listening to you two guys.
I've narrowed down the options to 1.
There you go.
And I move that.
You can have any flavor you want as long as it's option 3.
We don't sell cheese.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.62, residential demolition application 71 Raglan Avenue. Councillor Matlow.
I move that option.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 33.63, residential demolition application 81 Raglan Avenue. Councillor Matlow.
I move it.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. And that takes us to our final item of business. Item TE 33.64, Badger Row Avenue parking changes, Ward 14. Councillor Bailao.
Recommendations in the letter.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, so we're going to have to do some bills. And I'm going to have to keep signing bylaws even after the meeting is over. Can you believe it? Look at the bylaws they make me sign. Okay, I move that the Toronto East York Community Council pass and declare as bylaws Bills 461 to 479, 482 and to 483, and 487 prepared for the May 26th meeting of Toronto East York Community Council. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. And I move that the Toronto and East York Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Toronto East York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 33 on May 26, 2022. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. Bye now.
Thank you.